For 35 years, I've been standing in this lectern behind here, sharing this idea, and every time I do it, somebody wakes up to a new concept of self. And my question to you is, even if you've heard this 100 times before, this, you ready? Is what you think what you think? Or is it what somebody told you to think? Is what you think coming from the freedom of unlimited possibility, or is it coming from some made-up memory of negative anticipation of tomorrow? You see, our challenge is to wake up to the greater idea of self, and if you hear yourself say, I don't have a life, then wake up and realize that you can, in your own way, allow yourself to silently begin to understand a greater idea and then give it possibility in action as you. And as you do this, you find yourself inspiring yourself. You find yourself discovering joy you've never had before. And all of a sudden, you find yourself having fun in this thing called life. Now, the question is, do you need to create something in you that allows you more balance? What are you balanced in relationship to? There's a lot of people out there who are balanced in their worry, and then they look for a justification for the worry. And remember, worry is just negative faith. It's faith that everything's going to go wrong. Fear is faith that everything's going to go wrong. So it's not whether you have faith or not, it's what are you going to have faith in. And what if you allowed yourself to know that unlimited possibility created you out of itself? That is the truth of you. Now ask yourself, what kind of faith does that have? How does it look at its tomorrow? Ask yourself a question. If you go within yourself and you begin to sense your own inner understanding, ask yourself, do you sense it as a time for change for the better? Do you sense that there is a clear way for you to be the best you know how to be in action, no matter how wonderful it's been up to now? Remember, that's not all there is. There's always that much more. And do you sense that it is time to end something and begin something new? See, we realize as metaphysicians that we are in a never-ending rebirth process, are we not? We are always letting go of something old and giving birth to something new. We're always letting go of what was and moving into what can be. And that unfoldment is something that is wonderful, and the wonderful just keeps getting better and better and better. We have choices in life. Even if you think you don't have a choice and something in the universe has a life planned out for you, somebody I was watching something the other day, and one fighter knocked out the other one and thanked Jesus. And I thought, Dr. Barker used to say, isn't it interesting how many people have Jesus at the level of a bellhop? Run my errands for me, Jesus. Okay. But what if we could understand that what he taught us was we have the power to run our errands for ourselves? And that we have the power to understand that wherever we are, that's where we need to be in order to get to where we want to be. And if we're going to get there, what we need to do is praise our way forward and not condemn our way forward. Everyone say, I am the life I choose to have in action. Now, I'm going to share with you a truth, and I put this on my on Facebook when I was preparing this lesson. And I said, let me share a truth with you that I learned long ago. If you don't take the time to define your own vision, goals, and priorities, you will end up being driven by the needs and priorities of others. Don't you live your life by the priorities of somebody else. Live your life. How many know that if you give more to yourself, you're going to be able to give more away to everybody else? And how many know if you're giving more away to everybody else than you're giving to you, you're going to cave in on yourself? And people who do this have a very interesting title. It's called martyr. Okay, how many been around one? How many been one? How many want one? No. Everyone say, I choose to redesign my life. Now, how do you do this? You do this by understanding that there is a key portion to every life on this thing we call life, in this experience, and we can at any moment realize that no task in front of us is impossible. If we choose to honor the task at hand and give our best to it. I just did next week's radio program, and you will hear it Wednesday morning, and I'm talking about dealing with the task at hand. How many have a task at hand you're not dealing with? Okay. How many have a task at hand that if you know that you get it behind you, you're going to feel better, be happier and freer and everything else? Okay. Okay. You know, it's like, you know, you tell students, and this is something, I just had a wonderful farmer free flyer contact me, and we had a counseling session once when they were a teenager, and I pointed out to them it's easier to make A's than it is to make B's, C's, and D's, and they argued with me, and I said, give it a try. And so they devoted a little more time to their study, a little more time to their self-appreciation, and all of a sudden, guess what? It became easier to make an A than it was a B, C, and D. And guess what? They're still making A's, and they're 40 years old now. Okay. They're still making A's. They found out it's easier to be happy than unhappy. It's easier to be healthy than sick. It's easier to be prosperous than broke. It's easier to be successful than fail. It's easier to be sober than drunk. It's easier. See, a lot of times people just want to poor little old me themselves. Listen, if you need to pay attention to yourself, go out and celebrate something. Take some time for you. Give some time for you. If you're going to achieve any goal in your life, and this is what my whole book is about, is the idea of power of positive purpose. What is your purpose for achieving the goals you have in life? And if you don't have any, why don't you have goals? Why are you not envisioning? We have a whole project going, and I want to invite all of you to be part of it. Is that we're going to get together in consciousness with the 450 members we have in this church and start envisioning the next step and not just maintain status quo. This auditorium should be full every Sunday for both services. We have too many good things to teach to people who need to hear it and need to understand it for it to be the way it is this morning. It needs to be full, and there's a way to do that. When I first started, we started with 10 people who became 15, who became 100, who became 150, and we did that in about 6 weeks. The idea of becoming enthusiastic about what we are and not just taking it for granted. Well, we can see this happening in the work here at the church, but we can also see it in our own lives. How many have found status quo and you just take it for granted? And you just repeat yesterday over and over again, well, it seems to be okay. And all of a sudden, you know, time ticks away. The challenge is to wake up and get a new vision of you.